people come to you at this point, and you've talked to thousands of people, and they say, Gary, I'm not happy with what I'm doing. I don't like my bid. I don't have passion. Like, what is the main theme that you're recognizing with those people, and what is the response to them?
Lack of accountability or optimism. And they're looking for answers, but often what they're looking for is affirmation for their excuses. And the reason they like me is I don't want to do that for them because everyone else is doing that for them and it's fucking them up. What most people want is for you to agree to why they got unlucky or why it's not going well. If you look carefully at what's happening, a lot of us are creating entitlement and nepotism for people we love by acknowledging things that aren't true. Like, for example, the thing that's really playing out in society right now is the real pandemic is non-accountability, right? So right now you have an entire, let's just use our country for a little bit. It's Biden's fault, it's Trump's fault, it's Republicans' fault, it's Democrats' fault, it's my spouse's fault, it's mom, now the other big one, it's mom's fault, it's dad's fault, it's everyone's fault. What about this? Like the thing that I'm usually trying to be, like usually where I go, depending on the tone and tenor of the person. You know, some people love a gym trainer that like really grinds you. Like, you know, like people like that. Other people like one that's a little bit more like your therapist / trainer. Everybody likes different things from different relationships. What I tend to try to do is look at the person that's coming at me, whether randomly at an airport or somebody I really care about, and be like, what style of communication can I give right now that brings them the most value? For some people, it's like, look, that's real trauma. Like somebody comes to me that I don't know. And like, this happens to me a lot. Like that, I don't know them, but they consume my content. And I'm like in line to get a coffee and they're like, Gary, can I speak to you? I'm like, you know, I'm pretty me. I'm me. Yeah. I'm like, sure. They're like, look, man, like my dad was an alcoholic and like sexually abused me. I can't be like, yo, bro, who gives a fuck? Like, that's not appropriate. You need to come with real compassion in that moment. That's something I can't fully understand. I'm not all knowing. I'm like, to me, that needs extreme sympathy and passion, and compassion. But if that's a 45-minute convo, not a 1-minute convo, then at some point the story with that person, especially if it's the 18, let's say it's an employee and I'm in hour 18 over 3 years with them. At some point in that convo, it starts to transition into like, you are aware that other people have also gone through this traumatic experience and through therapy, meditation, health and wellness, mentally and emotionally, physically, they've been able to get on the other side. Humans are remarkable. Now, how you start that conversation isn't always like, rah, 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 I got you. Sometimes it takes 4 hours of compassion before you can start to transition the energy to accountability and capability. But the issue, you know, what do I say? You're capable. You don't like, politics is such a hot topic, right? You don't like what's going on in America? Go to Sweden. I don't know, like if you're so distraught right now listening to this and you think America's the worst, I have great news. Australia is lovely. And so to me, why are you going to complain when you're in control? Ah, you like that feeling. People don't want to be accountable.
I think complaining gives people sometimes an identity.
It gives them a short-term endorphin hit. It gives them a short-term excuse. It gives them a Band-Aid. It gives them a jolt of, I don't suck. Life is as basic as it comes. Insecurity, self-confidence, everything else is secondary.
Yeah, it's interesting too, because like the message is very clear, and I couldn't agree more. But you know, there's also this thing was like, well, easy for you to say Garyvee, point of privilege, Lauren and Michael, point of privilege, and like it's just like it's another bump along the road.
Only because they don't have context.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Sure, easy for me, Gary. Let's talk about Gary.
Go.
I immigrated from the Soviet Union. I grew up in a household where my dad worked every minute, where my mom, who's the greatest of all time, but very early on said, you take care of your sister. I've only had responsibility. I've only had stress and pressure on my head my whole life. Started working at my dad's liquor store at 14. At 16, I'm already a financial impact on the business. Now I've got that. Like, I've never had a vacation in my fucking life. How about that? I didn't take one as a kid, and by the time I was grown and I went, every vacation I've ever taken in my entire adult life, I've had to think about responsibilities that were happening while I was on the fucking beach. So I promise you I wasn't on fucking vacation.
Yeah, that's one thing.
So thank you, enjoy, like fuck you. How about you, fourth kid in your family, never had the responsibility, everyone took care of you in the fucking family. You got it good.
You're the oldest, right? Yeah.
Yes, like fuck that shit. Like as if nobody else has, like everybody has something. Everybody has something. The thought that I have it, like the thought that other people have it better than me, that is stupid. Why would anyone think that? You don't know about people's lives. You know how many people have had atrocious things happen that they've never had the strength to say out loud? Nobody on earth knows. Everyone's walking around with secrets. Everyone has skeletons. Everyone has trauma. Everyone has pain. No, I don't think it's a point of privilege. Plus, what are we defining as success?
That's the thing.
The stupidest fucking thing I know on earth is that people define people of privilege with money. Money has no correlation to happiness. You know, you guys are grown now. You're in circles. You know, unlimited amount of
More people we know with money are more unhappy than people we know with less.
100%.
Yeah.
And by the way, you don't know yet. You'll find out if you get there. And if you don't get there, you won't know. I don't know. Am I supposed to think LeBron's lucky because he's a fucking athletic freak? I know that I wasn't born as an athletic freak, but I don't know what's going on in LeBron's life. I'm supposed to believe that Beyonce has it so fucking awesome? I don't know what's going on in Beyonce's life.
How are you going to teach your kids this? I want to know for my own, what are you doing that and this book too, you could talk about this as well. What are you doing for your kids?
You're just having conversations, but don't forget, I'm not going to be the best vessel. There's different vessels. I'm going to be my kid's dad. I'm definitely not going to be Garyvee.
Right.
I might be very effective for your kids.
Right.
By the way, I might be the perfect person for your kids one day. You'll be like, this is somebody we knew for a long time. They're going to think they may think I'm cool. It's happening right now. For so many of my friends, they're 15 to 20-year-old. The amount of texts I get from friends saying, my son just texted me a fucking video from you.
Oh.
That I've been telling him for 9 years, but he hasn't listened, but he texted me and be like, Dad, we should do this. You're like, motherfucker, I've been telling you this. Because sometimes you need an outside voice. Sometimes Oprah did it for people, even though mom was saying it the whole time. I can't be that. I'm going to be dad for my kids.
Yeah.
What am I telling them? I'm doing dad shit. But I also know that dad shit's only going to be 50% of it because humans, when they grow up, dad, mom can only have so much leverage on them. So I can do dad shit there. I try to do dad shit for the internet, older brother shit.
No, you're the godfather.
You know,
the godfather of the internet.
You know, I try to do it. I try to leave positive contributions. And then I'm also okay if I'm not the right vessel. My dad always brings this up. He brought it up yesterday when I spoke to him in between meetings in San Francisco. He said, son, it's really nice. I said something to my dad one day when we were driving. And it was about how Wine Library was going to be the biggest wine store in New Jersey. And I said, Dad, I'm going to build such a big wine store for you. And I'm going to be so good at it that everyone's going to stop competing with us because they're going to all know that they're fighting for second place. That I'm going to be so good, and this is going to be so good, and I'm going to build the biggest thing, and everyone's going to be fighting for second place. Because what my dad used to be worried about is what you guys are giving me flowers for. While I was building Wine Library, I was telling the industry in interviews what I was doing. I was like, the internet's going to win. And email market, and he would get upset. He'd be like, don't tell everyone your secrets. And I would say, Dad, you don't understand. I'm so much better than them. I'm going to tell them what I'm doing, but they're not going to execute on it. And it was this really gangster moment when I was 24, 3 or whatever, that was a real, I remember it vividly the second I said it. It was ooh, it was it was being like a rapper where you have a bar that you just know you're going to be known for forever. And it was just me and him. We used to compete a lot. It was a real challenge because I was building the business and I would struggle with him coming in and being I'm like, Dad, I'm doing it now.
But he's technically the owner and
but
the
he's
boss.
like, fuck, man. At the time I didn't understand. When I was 22, full-time back from college now. Don't forget, I was there since I was 14. So I've been there every summer in high school and college. I was there 100 days a year. But now I'm there 365 days a year. When I was 22, my dad was 44. 4 years younger than I am now.
Whoa.
It's weird.
That's a trip.
So I was at the time at 22, I'd be like, Dad, you're you're good. I mean, the thought, I'm 48. I think I said earlier, I'm just starting. So, for my dad, it was, he was thrilled because the business went from 4 to 10 to 17 to 25 to 30. I fucking annihilated it. Changed the course of our lives.
You brought it online, right? Is that
brought it online. Okay. That was the whole punchline. but he lost his identity as the man. And I didn't want him micromanaging because I'm like, I'm fucking giving up my fucking 20s for you. Because I also had my own resentment. I didn't own any piece of the business and he wasn't paying me a lot. I love when people are like, don't listen to Garyvee. He inherited a winery. I'm like, okay, let's start from the top. It's a wine store in New Jersey. I inherited nothing. And as a matter of fact, there are very few people on earth that will give 150 hours a week for 12 straight years, give up their entire childhood, all their fun of their 20s, and work every day to build a business for their parents. Very few. I sit in very rare air. When people try to razz me at don't listen to this guy, I'm like, you don't know, you're complimenting me because I sit on an island with very few other human beings.